maybe she will ask you to go out and spend some time in the sun. But don't leave her, huh? Thank you. This is done, put it here.
Oh, those are my notes.
No,
Okay.
notes you don't need. You don't need a notes.
Okay. And then which one? Go this one.
This one.
That one. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm very honored to be here today with you. Once again, I have been to AAPNA conferences from the very, very beginning, from the very first conference. I am celebrating my 10-year graduation next month from the very first graduating class of the Kripalu School of Ayurveda. And Dr. Shekhar was one of my teachers, and then from there, he created a massage program in Pennsylvania, which included 12 of us traveled to India to Dr. Ashkar's clinic in January of 2007. And since then, I have been actively practicing Ayurveda. I have an Ayurvedic spa in Ringwood, New Jersey. And I am speaking to you today about vitamin D deficiency, and by no means am I standing here being an expert in vitamin D. I stand here before you as a student who has been diagnosed with vitamin D deficiency. And I have to say, I was quite surprised. I'm very active. I am, as a massage therapist, I'm very, very active in my life. I teach many, many yoga classes, and I feel very strong. I'm an extremely pitta person. So when I went to my doctor and he did my blood work and he told me I was vitamin D deficient, I was like, how can that be? Then I went to my gynecologist, and at 52 years old, they did a bone scan, and it came back that I was starting to have stages of osteopenia. And again, I was floored. I was like, how can that be? How can that be? I just, I do have a little substantial weight that I carry, and I said, I was just amazed. I was amazed. And, but then the more that I thought about it, the more I realized that I really don't get outside. The awareness, they talked about awareness this morning. This is what brought me into an awareness, and I really started looking at my day. I go into my massage practice at 10 o'clock in the morning. I have clients all day long, and some days I don't go home till 10 o'clock at night. Thank God, not every day. But then I started thinking, how many times do I go outside? How many times am I actually out in the sun? Then I started thinking, well, I'm in my car. I can feel the warmth of the sun in my car. Then I started having all of these questions. Sunlight, direct sunlight is direct sunlight. Sunlight coming through glass is not the same. The ultraviolet rays that you need to absorb vitamin D does not come through the windows. So you might even be sunning yourself in a sun porch, thinking you're getting the sun, but if you're not in the direct sunlight, you're still not receiving the vitamin D. And so, so I am standing here for you, just showing you a lot of the research that I've done. So what I would like to start, though, is to start with a pranayama called Kapalabhati breathing. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to do a bellow breath, which is going, and we're going to do it 21 times. We'll exhale all of the air out, inhaling to your lung capacity to 2/3 full, suspending your breath a little bit, and then breathing. And then I want to do this 3 times. Again, that beautiful number of 3. So bringing your hands to your solar plex, and then begin. Exhale all the air out. Inhale to 2/3 of your lung capacity. Suspend the breath. And then begin to breathe. And then one more time. Take your breath in, exhaling. Exhale out. Inhale to 2/3 of your lung capacity. Suspend. Noticing what's going on. Breathing naturally. And we're going to do one more round. Taking a breath in. And begin. Exhale the air out. Inhale 2/3. Suspend. And then breathe naturally. And there's two reasons I did that. One is to wake you up a little bit so that you can be more alert. And what I've learned through my research is in Yoga India, I found a little video, and it was all in Hindi. The English title was Pranayama to help you to absorb your vitamin and nutrients. And on this video, the man was doing Kapalabhati. It stimulates your liver. And your liver is what creates vitamin D. And it helps with all your absorption of different things. And so I just wanted to share that with you as we start. Okay? So what is vitamin D? I don't know where to push this button. Oh, there we go. So vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. What's the difference between being a fat-soluble vitamin and a water-soluble vitamin? And vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin. So that way, if you take too much vitamin C, you drink enough, eventually you'll pee it out. But as a fat-soluble vitamin, if you take too much vitamin D as a supplement, it gets stored in your fat cells. And also, one of the things is if you do decide to take a vitamin D supplement, you need to take it with fat. You need to take it with flaxseed oil or some kind of a fat. Okay? And it plays a very important role in the function. It's best known for working with the calcium in the body. And it helps your body to build strong bones, and also it regulates your immune system and cells, where it may even help prevent cancer. Your body stores vitamin D, and it can make it when your skin is exposed to direct sunlight. It's also found in some foods, but there is no vegetarian, natural way of a vegetarian vitamin D from food. Only direct sunlight is for a vegetarian. So it is found in salmon and fish and things like that. But there are two different types of vitamin D. And the vitamin D2, ergocalciferol, that comes from mushrooms that are normally grown in the dark, and they grow the mushrooms and expose them to ultraviolet rays, so it's kind of a man-made thing. So it is a vegetarian-based form of vitamin D, but again, it's not a direct natural source. Then we have vitamin D3, the cholesterol. I'm sorry about these names. They give me a little bit of a hard time. So, and this is what we produce underneath our skin. And vitamin D3 supplements are made from, most of them are made from lanolin, which comes from the skin of a sheep. So again, they're not vegetarian. So the sunshine vitamin helps boost bone muscle growth, but a lack of it can really, really affect our health. And symptoms of vitamin D deficiency. Do you feel blue? Serotonin has a direct correlation to vitamin D. And just sitting in the sunshine produces serotonin. So it helps our mood swings. That's why people get that sadness in the wintertime when the sun starts to go away. If you're 50 or older, your skin does not absorb the vitamin D as we age. If you're overweight or obese, or even have a high muscle mass, vitamin D is also, it's a hormone, and it means that the body fat is like a sink, and it just stores up your vitamin D. And if you're overweight, you're therefore more likely to need more vitamin D than a summer person. And your bone aches. If you really starting to have aches and pains with your bones, these are signs. Head sweating. I was noticing I was perspiring a lot, and I connected that to the vitamin D deficiency. And of course, the gut trouble. And so when I found this, I was like, wow, I have all of them. I have all of these symptoms. And so this is a wonderful, wonderful video on YouTube. His name is Dr. Robert. Heaney. That just was published this January of 2015 by the University of California, Diego School of Medicine. And this really was the most amazing thing that I found, is that the primary function of the vitamin is to serve as part of the biochemistry operation of the body systems for the information stored in our DNA. Our DNA is in every single cell, and it's a nucleus of every cell, and it has the knowledge of how to repair our cells. And the vitamin D enables the response for the DNA to release this information into the body. So we have DNA, and it's sufficient to encode a whole human being when we recognize that we need to replace tissues, that we have the instructions for doing so in our DNA. But it's like if you cut your finger and you need to make new skin cells, you have the ability to go into your DNA and get the mapping out. And currently, understanding that the DNA functions minute by minute, second by second in the synthesis of cell operations and replication. And inside the cell, it's this D-hydroxyvitamin D, sometimes called active vitamin D. This is the key that unlocks the knowledge from the DNA. So the vitamin D that goes through your blood system, but then when it's actively converted into the cells, then this vitamin D is actually, when the body needs the intelligence, the vitamin D is the enabler that opens up the knowledge for the vitamin D to come out. And so you always have a response. But depending on how much vitamin D you have in your system is the response that you will get as far as the repair of your cells. So without the vitamin D, none of our body systems work well because they all need it, and it's another more concrete example of vitamin D is necessary for the body to absorb enough calcium, the calcium in the food that we eat. And it's not the cause. It doesn't cause the information to come out. It's the enabler. So with all of this, it's I was thinking about Ojas and how Ojas is our immune system. And I was seeing, if I was seeing Ojas as the male Purusha, I would see vitamin D as the Prakriti. I would see vitamin D as the female energy that enables the action to happen. So then, vitamin D itself doesn't force the response, but if you don't have enough, it will be the size of the response, and it will shrink. Just as simple as that. The response will be, and if you're and you wouldn't even really notice it until you're really depleted, and then the response is even less, until then you don't get anything at all. So you have when you have a lot of vitamin D, then the message isn't quite getting out enough, and then so that the cells and the bones are starting to get osteopenia. Then the long-term effects of vitamin D deficiency is that you start going into osteoporosis. And so the good news is 20 minutes of sun every day, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon. If you just make sure that you go into the direct sunlight, and using vitamin D supplementation, in Ayurveda, all of our beautiful supplements, we don't take them forever. We're not saying, here, your vitamin D supplement, take this for the rest of your life. That's not what we teach in Ayurveda. What we teach is use some of these things temporarily to build up your levels of the vitamin D. But once your levels are there, just try to make sure that you get out into the sun. The other day, I love this, I'm trying to practice this, and I made up my massage room for my next client, and I'm like, I have 15 minutes now, I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna sit in the sun, and I'm sitting out there and I'm meditating, and wouldn't you know, my client came 15 minutes early. And I was like, back into my cave. Now think about this. Are we meant to live in a cave? No, we're not meant to be in caves. But our homes, we go from our home, we walk out a few minutes, we get into our car. Our car is another cave. We don't see that, though. Sunlight is coming through the glass in our cars. So we're thinking, oh, look, I'm in the sun. I'm feeling the warmth of the sun. but it's not direct sunlight. Then we don't even get out of our cars. We go driving through drive-throughs to pick up our coffee or our tea and things like that. And then we get out and we walk into a store. We get out, we walk into our offices. So just try to be very, very aware about how much time do you actually spend in direct sunlight. I was really amazed when I started to become aware I wasn't getting enough sunlight. I really wasn't. And it wasn't, I just didn't know. Yes? Well, yes, and then just think about earlier in the morning, again, the rays aren't as strong, and if you're a heated pitta individual, you're not going to be wanting to sit out there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And so yes, again, think about the sun rays and how the strongest it is. And another thing that's happened is when I've been talking to my family, my friends about this, everyone says, but we're going to get skin cancer, and we have to put on sunscreen, right? And even some of my research says that, like we've been brainwashed by people to make sure that we have sunscreen on. We're afraid to be in the sun. We're not talking about hours of the sun. We're not talking about what we're talking about is getting a little bit of 20 minutes, or 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, and then between those two sessions, you'll get 4,000 units of vitamin D. So, so it's just again, I love to talk this awareness. This is just total amazing awareness that I found for myself. And, and then this is how much do we need? The recommended daily allowance is 600 IUs, but what they were using for measurements then versus they're realizing we do get more nutrition out of our foods, and we do need more vitamin D than originally thought. So the Endocrine Society says between 1,500 and 2,000 a day, and then the Geriatric Society says 4,000 a day. So some of these levels are actually changing. So the 4,000 is new, that just came out, and this is what the man was talking about in January. And preventive medicine is right now, and we need to see this in terms of chronic disease. Chronic disease is a breakdown of structure or function of a body system, and the original is almost all factorial genes and various environmental factors. So there is the DNA. The entire knowledge isn't being passed from our DNA. And then, but people that have to be very cautious with vitamin D supplements, people with high blood pressure, phosphorus levels, heart problems, kidney disease, sarcoidosis, what's that? Okay, just what he said. Okay, inflammation of organs. I had to look that one up. So and tuberculosis, and I felt so sad for one of my clients. For 8 years since I've started my spa, and he just received he was on kidney dialysis, and he just received a kidney, and he's a chemist, and he was helping me understand vitamin D, and he can't go out into the sun. He cannot go out into the sun because of the anti-rejection medicine that he takes for his kidney, allowed to expose himself to sunlight in any way. And when I found that out, I almost cried for him. It just was like, wow. So, so there are various precautions. So again, check your medicines that you take, check about the sunlight, exposing yourself to sunlight and things like that. And Dr. Mishra, he's a beautiful Ayurvedic doctor from Lucknow, India. He's going to be hosting the conference in November. I sent an email to him asking him for some beautiful advice, and so he sent me back some beautiful things. And it can be managed in two ways. The first one is through with ghee, who Sandeep can help you with the ghee understanding. Liver cleansing, so we have all these beautiful products here that also have a lot of wonderful liver tablets and things like that, and the supplements. And the second is to make in body, the make in body natural way that we want to go. Again, the diet is beautiful and all of the cleansing is beautiful, but we really have to say, what's the most natural way to make it in our body? And that is exposure to the sun. That's the natural way to produce this. And yoga is tools that represents the make-in body to cover this vitamin D deficiency. And thank you, Dr. Mishra, for that beautiful information. He also sent some studies. There's a 2014 study published in the Neurology, Journal of Neurology, suggesting moderate to severe vitamin D deficiency in old adult risk of dementia. Experts believe that a healthy diet, regular exercise, and maintaining friendship and social support system can reduce the risk, which was also talked about today. Another study links low levels of vitamin D and prostate cancer. And then another one is the Journal of Sex. It contributes to erectile dysfunction. And schizophrenia is associated with low vitamin D levels. And also serious heart disease. And I love this beautiful website. Dr. Priya mentioned that to check out this eatvaidyagi.com. It's a wonderful, wonderful website, and it's based in India. And I went there, and I just did vitamin D search on that website, and this was just a few of them that came up with the importance of vitamin D's, of hyperthyroidism, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, muscular dystrophy, autoimmune diseases, diet for obesity. They all, please try to do it yourself too. Go to this website, put in vitamin D, and then you'll have the links for vitamin D's. And wonderful research. And I'm very picky, so you can see how I love the research. So, yay, right? So, and just, so don't forget to enjoy the direct sunlight at least once or twice a day, and you won't even need the vitamin D deficiency. Yes?
Sorry, I just didn't want to miss the role in immunity. Vitamin D, there's some great studies, recent studies, that talk about vitamin D deficiency and increased autoimmunity and also increased susceptibility. And those who have a normal vitamin D level have a much greater protection towards infection, all equivalent to vaccines.
Right.
So, just I would encourage to look up some studies related to vitamin D's role in our immune system.
Right, right. Because it's just amazing. Yes, Dr. Jane, please share.
I come from Florida, and you will be amazed at how many percent of my patients are vitamin D deficient, even though they are exposed to sunlight every day, an extreme amount of sunlight. The factor which is missing, you have to look at the patient's ugly, especially Buddha, erythrometal means in the liver, is disturbed in these patients with vitamin D deficiency. So a Virechana might be also looking at herbs which will support the liver to help in the metabolism of vitamin D. And I suspect everything in modern medicine today. I think the levels which we have been measuring are too conservative, too lenient, so that I think 80% of US population cannot be vitamin D deficient. I think the measurements are wrong. In few years we'll know that these measurements were wrong. We were doing too strict of a measurement for vitamin comments.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you. Yes? Yes, please. Isn't it wonderful to have these beautiful doctors help us too, right? Thank you.
Okay, first of all, the lecture was excellent, covered a lot of stuff. Agree with all the things you said. But I'd like to comment a few things on vitamin D. I'll comment on vitamin D. So normal intake is supposed to be 400 to 600 international units. That's how the standard has been for a long time. Over basically last 10 years, there's been a new wave for that. And there has been vitamin D deficiency. But then when you measure the vitamin D, the spectrum is huge. you know. So that's one thing. The other thing is that before 1980, there was no word called osteopenia in medicine. The word was invented by Merck. Got into literature. Merck, pharmaceutical company. So there's no word called osteopenia before, because there was osteoporosis, but there was no osteopenia. And then that's when the Fosamax and everything came in. So it was like before the Fosamax comes in, something osteopenia. The other thing is that in old medicine, there was like heavy frame, light frame, and medium frame, which is Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Now, when the bone scans are done, they're not measured based on Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So as Ayurvedic physician or even just a person who is thinly built will have smaller mass, and automatically they will fall into the category of osteopenia, osteoporosis automatically. The Kapha person may not fall into that. So that's one thing. And then depending on which machine and how it is read, part of the variations also from radiologist to radiologist. So not every, in osteopenia, it's a gray area of medicine. And the other thing is, how can so many people be vitamin D deficiency all the time? That's one thing. The other thing is that E is a fat-soluble vitamin. So not only we have to look into the benefit of that, one has to look into other side also is toxicity. Because toxicity will not be diagnosed by physician. And as far as somebody has a fairly balanced diet and all that, they should that. If the level is low, they should be treated one time, and then may have levels measured re-again and see where they stand in. Because 4,000 or 5,000 units you said, I don't think is acceptable. Because when you take it for 5 to 10 years, it's going to give you vitamin D toxicity. Then what? So on a long run, it is taken for a long time. Short period is okay.
Yeah, and again, Ayurveda is we don't take things for the rest of our lives. We would only use the vitamin D supplement on a short-term basis until the levels return to what they are, and then enough sunshine to maintain our levels on a natural basis. And the skin does regulate it. There are people that work outside all day in the summertime. And again, the body has the intelligence, will only absorb enough vitamin D that it will need, and not naturally we're not going to have too much vitamin D. But when you do take these supplements, you have to be extremely cautious, because again, you do not want to overdo it. So you just need to take it temporarily until your levels return to a normal state, and then just try to get. But it's the same thing with all of our Ayurvedic herbs until our body's intelligence returns. And once the body returns to the intelligence, then let the intelligence just be and take over. And it is very important, like Dr. Jane said, that you have to make sure that if your liver isn't working properly, you could take all of the vitamin D in the world and it's still not going to get absorbed properly. So you do have to make sure that your diet is right, that the liver is, the herbs, they take liver herbs to make sure that the liver is cleansed and things like that. So and would anyone else, we have a minute or two, would anybody else like to share any other comments or divine wisdom?
The best part of the body to produce vitamin D is your butt. Yeah, because it's the largest part with the skin, right?
I don't know. Well, maybe. They do say that you want to try to wear those as much skin, but again, it's time. The more skin you show, the more you're going to absorb. Whereas you may take a little bit longer exposure if you only have your face and your hands and a little bit of your forearms. So maybe, I'm not sure. So, but I thoroughly enjoyed sharing all of this with you, and I'm very honored to be here with you once again. Thank you.
So now with certificate, so maybe she will ask you to go out and spend some time in the sun. But don't leave her, huh? Thank you. This is done, put it here.
Oh, those are my notes.
No, notes you don't need. You don't need a notes.
Okay. And then which one? Go
That's
this
one,
one?
this one.
That one. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm very honored to be here today with you once again. I have been to AAPNA conferences from the very, very beginning.